Hi, and welcome to part 4 in my lists of top 50 stories that I own. Everybody's doing their top 50 lists. I wanted to do something a little different, so I didn't just do top 50 books, I did top 50 storylines. You can catch the other videos if you flip through my channel and find other ones you might really like. This one is going to be a DC only episode, meaning all 10 of these storylines are just from my DC collections. Now, the rules are, number one, it has to be a storyline with at least 2 issues or more. So something like The Killing Joke, which I do really enjoy and have the trade, it's not going to apply for something like this. Rule number 2 is I need to own a significant portion of these issues. So if I don't even own them yet, I might love those issues, but maybe they're too expensive or I haven't gotten around to getting them yet. This is a Batman heavy one, I'm very sorry to say. The character that I liked the most when I was collecting up to now has been Batman in the DC universe. I've got a few Justice Leagues and a little bit of Superman here and there, but I really need to evolve in this area, and that's been the benefit of knowing people like Sir Sergeant Ryan. He's been guiding me a little bit for Green Lantern, and I'm hoping to get a little Flash knowledge and things like that. And before long, maybe I'll have a better understanding of DC in general. I'm going to start off with a book that is a little bit more modern that I've been talking about a lot and that you can pick up right now at your local shop because I guarantee you they're still there. Batman Cold Days. This is Batman number 51, 52, and this was the variant cover for 53, a real gorgeous cover. For those that don't know, this storyline centers on Bruce Wayne intentionally giving himself jury duty so that he can be on a case deciding whether Dr. Freeze deserves to go to jail. The interesting part about it is he's the one that captured Dr. Freeze, and he's the one arguing that maybe Batman was wrong. So it's a fascinating look at his perspective on what he does, and of course he's dealing with the heartache of the drama from the wedding, and you can see how that might be affecting his judgment. Another real modern storyline would be this one. Batman White Knight. This was a sort of Elseworlds storyline, very popular this summer, regarding Joker and Batman and sort of the respective roles that they've always sort of played. It was a chance to see Joker taken from a typical sort of crazy life that he's always been living and imagining him as instead sort of Gotham's favorite son. And how that would affect all the characters in his life, whether they were Harley Quinn and some of the other characters that have always cared a lot about him, or whether that was Batman, and how that would affect their relationship as, constantly chasing each other down. So I found it a really original idea and very fascinating. So that was a lot of Batman. Let's jump into a Justice League storyline that I love. This one comes from Justice League 43 through 46. The storyline is called The Tower of, and I'm going to get this either Babel or Babel. I'm going to go with Tower of Babel. It is a 4-issue storyline, and it's perfect for me because Batman is in the background, but because he's the problem. The Justice League is all sort of being dismantled. Ra's al Ghul, the classic villain, has gained some of the knowledge that Batman has been collecting on his teammates, and he's using it against them. And it's sort of deconstructing that team in a big way. And it's Batman's fault. Little by little, they can sort of all realize that Batman is pulling the strings on all of them, and he's known their weaknesses for a long time. Now a villain is going to capitalize on it. It's a very dramatic and dynamic storyline that ends with a lot of judgment on the part of the Justice League. They really start looking at Batman as maybe the real weakest link in their team, not because of his abilities, but because he's always sort of planning for the worst in people. Let's jump to a classic storyline, and probably my favorite Batman storyline ever. The story is, of course, Year One. And I have loved this story since the first time I picked it up. I'm excited for my daughter, Kate, to be exploring it together with me and sometime in the next couple of weeks. It is a 4-issue storyline from Batman issues 404 through 407. And if you've never heard of it before, it's the perfect entry point for Batman. My favorite part about it is the dual stories. You get Jim Gordon's first time in Gotham and Batman returning to Gotham, or at least Bruce Wayne, trying to figure out how he's going to fight crime in the future. It's a great way to sort of look at their two sort of different perspectives on the city and how it's shaping the men they're going to become. I found it captivating, and it builds to a really exciting finish that really just made me understand deeply why those two guys, Gordon and Bruce Wayne, would become such strong friends. I feel like I want to jump to a storyline involving Batman's sidekick. And as much as I love Batman Year One, I also equally love Robin Year One. This is a storyline following the drama of Robin losing his parents, becoming the ward of Bruce Wayne, and dealing with what it is to be an orphan and inventing this new life for himself. These are kind of like four little trades, but it's a four-part story. The many different villains play a key part in it, including Two-Face. I love the way they sort of build on the relationship between Robin and Batman, but specifically it's through Robin's perspective and how he's dealing with the tragedy he suffered in his life. Another Justice League storyline that I love. There were 3 issues, 47, 48, 49 of JLA, a really odd storyline that if you weren't collecting, you might not have ever come across. The storyline was called The Queen of Fables, and it had to do with a villainous queen who is set free from a storybook and comes out to try to take over the world. And she reshapes Metropolis to fit her needs. And of course, the superheroes come to rescue the city. But it's starting to overgrow with vines, much like in the story Sleeping Beauty. Very exciting stuff, and of course, all these monsters from lore come out to battle our heroes. And it's all sort of centering around a jealousy with Snow White, in this case, Wonder Woman. And the heroes start realizing quickly that this villainous queen wants Wonder Woman and has some need for her. And it's sort of, the first issue ends with them discovering that, much like the Seven Dwarves, they've discovered that their queen has been fallen into a sleep. And so Snow White, in this version as well, would then be left to slumber, and they've got to figure out how to wake her. And I won't ruin that, how they wake her, but I found it fantastic. I'm down to my last 4, and I'm going a little bit long, so I'm going to try to hurry up here. I mentioned this one on my Instagram, that I had picked up these issues, and I think I even did an unboxing for it on YouTube. But Superman for All Seasons is an amazing storyline, and I'm really grateful that it was recommended to me, and I got the trade and loved it so much I went online and found the 4-issue series. It's basically Superman's Year One in a way. You get to see him early in his career. You get to see how other people view him and sort of how that creation of an identity as a superhero is created. Powerful, original, creative, I mean, everything you want from a great story, and through this sort of lens of Superman and who he is, what his identity is. I would say the opposite of that would be the next book that I'm going to share with you. Of course, it's The Dark Knight Returns. And I'm really grateful to Russ Bright at Mill Geek Comics for helping me get my first set of these. I realized when I wanted to do a DC-only list, it would not be complete without a set of The Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller. It is a high watermark. As much as I love Year One, I think this one is right there with it as far as just the great Batman stories. Captures the essence of that character, especially at a sort of different phase in his life, and how that would change his perspective on what he does for a living. Now I'm down to my last 2. I'm going to go and finish this Superman and Batman back and forth with a Batman Superman. For those of you that have never read this storyline before, this one was a Loeb and Turner combo, and I loved these covers so much, I got all of them. This storyline centered around arrival of Supergirl in Metropolis and how that changes everything, and the villains that come into play to try to capture her and utilize her. You know, there's so many great covers, but it's really just the internal art is just as good. Michael Turner kills it, right? And it all sort of centers around this sort of epic battle on the planet of Apokolips, and then the return and the drama in Smallville. It is just absolutely killer, both in story and art. And I think I have the first 25 or 30 issues of Superman Batman, but that story is easily the best one. That's 9. And of course, my last one has to be Hush. This was the series that really got me back into collecting. I was so obsessed with it. I don't need to show them off because these are just iconic issues of comic books. Um, the storyline is beautiful. I love Jim Lee. I'm crazy for Jim Lee, and this is some of his best DC stuff, bar none. I mean, it is absolutely amazing. I've got all the little variant covers and side covers. Except for that one that's popping right now, the first issue variant where he's doing the big pose like a gargoyle. But Hush is an incredible storyline. If you've never read it, snag a trade of it. You will not be disappointed. It is, for me, it's like Year One, Dark Knight Returns, and Hush. Those are the three Batman stories every fan of Batman needs to read. So that's it for my top 10 DC storylines. I've got one more before I finish my top 50. Thank you for sticking with me, those of you that have. My last one hopefully will be coming out next weekend. It's going to be a fun breakdown of characters and their individual storylines. So a lot of different characters, mostly almost completely Marvel, I believe, and lots of different individuals and their stories. So stick around for that one. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe and leave a comment. If there's a DC storyline that I missed, I know there's plenty in the Green Lantern world that I'm just getting caught up on, so it's possible that some of those are going to be your favorites as well. I'd love to also have new readings, so if there's something that I need to read, then let me know in the comments below. Thank you for checking in.